All right, so two more questions for me to show you, to demonstrate to you here on section 4.4. And I'm just trying to give you a good variety of problems. We only chose certain ones from this section anyway, so hopefully you'll be able to get them all set up based on what I'm showing you. And I think you've noticed I used substitution to solve some, and I've used addition to solve others. All right. Joan Gunderson rented the same car model twice from Hertz, which rents this car model for a daily fee plus an additional charge per mile driven. Joanne recalls that the car rented for 5 days and driven for 300 miles cost her $178, while the same model car rented for 4 days and driven 500 miles cost $197. Find the daily fee and find the mileage charge. And so we have to go back and look at this, right? 5 days driven 300 miles was $198. And then 4 days driven 500 miles for $197. Find the daily fee and find the mileage charge. So I'm going to say F is the daily fee and M is going to be the mileage charge. Okay, so I want to put a G in there. Okay, so here's how we're going to set this up. We're going to say five days, so 5 times the daily, right? 5 days would be 5 times the cost of the daily fee, plus you drove 300 miles, and it's going to cost M a cost per mile, and then that's equal to 178. And then 4 days, so 4 times the daily fee plus 500 miles times the mileage fee, right? That's a fee per mile equals 197. Now, I think you can tell that the easiest ones to work with here are going to be the F's. And since 4 times 5 is 20, we're going to multiply both of these by the first one by 4 and the second one by 5, but one has to be negative. So on the first one, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And on this one, I'm going to multiply by -5. Now we need to rewrite both equations. And so I'm just going to rewrite them below. Maybe I'll have room over there. Sometimes I end up way over on one side. Okay, so we're going to have 20F plus 1200M equals 712, right? And then negative 20F minus 2500M, and that equals negative 985. Notice all of the numbers in this equation became negative. Now when I combine the fee, right, the F's, I get 0. And then on this one I get negative 1300 M equals negative 273. I divide by negative 1300. I'm dividing a negative by a negative, so that works out well. And I find that my mileage charge is 0.21. So that's the cost per mile. And then I go back to one of my original equations and I substitute in the mileage. And so I'll just take the second equation, so 4F, go back to the original, plus 500 times 0.21 equals 197. And so, let's see, I don't know what that cost was. I didn't have that written down. Alright, so this is going to be 4F plus 105 equals 197, and we're just simply solving this equation. And we find 4F equals 92, and divide that by 4. All right, so F is $23 per day. I'll just say 23 for now. Okay, so the mileage cost is 0.21 per mile. And then the daily cost, the F, right, is $23 per day. And we have that one solved. There we go. All right, I know this seems complicated, you guys, but if you can just get the equations written, hopefully the solving is the easy part. Okay, so macadamia nuts cost an astounding $16.50 per pound, but research by an independent firm says that mixed nuts sell better if macadamias are included. I like macadamia nuts myself. The standard mix costs $9.25 per pound. All right, so standard mix costs $9.25 per pound. And then the macadamias cost $16.50 per pound. Find how many pounds of macadamias and how many pounds of the standard mix should be combined to produce 40 pounds that will cost $10 per pound. Find the amounts to the nearest tenth of a pound. Okay, so I'm going to use X equals the number of pounds of macadamia nuts. And then Y is going to be the number of pounds of standard nuts. All right, now we can set up our equations. So one of the things we know is we want to end up with 40 pounds. So we want to put a certain number of macadamias plus a certain number of standard nuts to equal a total of 40 pounds. And then for the dollar amount one, we had $16.50 per pound, right? So that's times X, and or times the number of pounds, not just 1 pound. And then $9.25 is the times Y, because that's the number of pounds of the standard nuts. And this one we had to multiply, so we have $10 and 40 pounds. So that would be 40 times 10, and that would be $400, right? So this is equal to 400. So when you're working through this, it doesn't matter which variable you solve for to substitute. I am going to just subtract Y on both sides, so X equals 40 minus Y, and I would just leave it in that order because that's going to be easier to work with. So I'm substituting. I'm going to show the substituting in a different color. So I'm going to have $16.50 times 40 minus Y, because that's what X is equal to on the other equation, plus 9.25Y equals 400. All right, so I have to distribute the $16.50, and that leaves me with 660 minus 16. I'm just going to drop the 0, 16.5Y plus 9.25Y equals 400. So we combine our like terms, right? We have these Y's, and I'm going to subtract the 660 to get it on the other side. I'm kind of going to put those two steps together. I have negative 7.25Y equals negative 260. Divide, and notice we're going to round to the nearest tenth of a pound. Why does it always have to do that thing, right? Nearest tenth of a pound. So when we divide, we're not going to get an exact number. So Y is, I might be able to write it below that. Remember, Y is the number of the standard kind of nuts, not just plain macadamia. And this rounds to 35.9 pounds. And then to find the macadamia nuts, we're going to use this equation right here. X equals 40 minus 35.9. So X happens to be 4.1. So I always like it if you just go ahead and write this out, right? So we're going to need 4.1 pounds of the macadamia nuts. Whoops. I just abbreviate that, and 35.9 pounds. Oh, come back. 0.9 pounds of standard just going to abbreviate both of those. And so that is our answer. And just really pay attention on those when you have to round. Okay, so that's the end of lesson 4.4. We're getting really close to the end of the semester, you guys.